Hi, this is James Scott, Born the Bayou. In this episode, we're going to do a review of Ark Nova, game by Mathis Wiggy, published by Capstone Games and Fureland. It's ages 14 and up, 1 to 4 players. According to the box, 90 minutes to 150 minutes. But good luck with that. This is a long game. I absolutely love this game. Now, it has been compared a lot as the Terraforming Mars. This is Terraforming Mars Killer. It has similarities. I find the cards are similar to Terraforming Mars, but that's, in my opinion, that's about where they end. They are, in a lot of ways, night and day from each other, apples and oranges. Is this better than Terraforming Mars? I don't think so at this time, but I do see the potential where I would prefer this over Terraforming Mars. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love this game. This is a solid 8 for me. I will play it every time it comes to the board or anytime I get a chance to play it. But there are a few glaring problems I do have with the game, and which we'll look at. But I definitely think the good outweighs the bad. But it's just some of these bad items that about the game that I just don't see why they did it that way. But hey, that's me. That's why I'm a reviewer, not a designer. But let's go ahead and we'll take a look at this fantastic game. First off, you'll be playing on the center board. You will have this board, which unfolds in 3, and you have, depending on how you want to lay your cards out, you can lay it out in this configuration, or you can lay them going this way. This is probably the beginning of one of my problems I have with the game. The footprint on this game is just humongous. It's bigger than it needs to be. I mean, there's games that take up this big a table space, and trust me, I got plenty that are twice the size. But this is one of those ones where this whole board is a scored track and 5 cards laid out for the auction with a little thing up I'll explain here in a second. That's this long. I just, in order to play their setup, how they have it in the book, in order to play 2 players, you need a table area about 52 inches by about 30 inches. If you want to play 4 players, you're looking at 52 inches by a 36-inch wide table. This, in my opinion, should have been this size. They could easily have squished this. And while we're on this subject, in order to play this game, you're going to be starting down here at the bottom with 1 score, and this is your appeal track. And then here in this green, this is your conservation track, and you'll be going along with your pin, your marker here. So as you score oh boy, I'm gonna have a fun time with that one. Conservation points, they will be going along this track, and as you get to your appeal, they'll be going along this track, and you keep playing the game until the one passes the other. I really like that. I love that. I love that type of mechanic. It gives you a little more strategy, so you can really go on the appeal or really go up here. The conservation is a bit harder. That's why you see they are larger spots and they kind of jump further. But I find this game is probably a third or twice as long as it really needs to be. All the games I played with of multiplayer, I'll talk about solo here in a second. It's a whole different animal. I find that it's at the hour-and-a-half mark, which is most of the games I played about the halfway mark. I usually run over about 3 hours. Now, granted, we're not experienced players at this game, so it's a little learning time. I imagine as you get better, you probably get closer to 2.5 hours, but still, for this type of game, I just it's gets a part of repetitiveness, and this is the one part in some ways I think I find it similar in Terraforming Mars. If you are concentrating on certain aspects of the game, such as the cards, and the animals, which I'll show here in a minute, this game can really stretch out. And then at about the hour and a half mark, you're going, oh man, I need to go on these tracks. I want to get this game over with. I found that this track probably they could have cut this track down to this size. And because right about the hour and a half, 2 hour mark, you're wanting to, you've gotten some ideas, but you're pretty well set in a strategy, and you're just building your engine up, and you're sending animals away, getting more animals, and I don't know. It's just, to me, it just seems at that point I want to play it again, but I want to start over. I want the game to end. But you can't. You've got a lot more to go around to get to the end. There are some really unique parts also on this game. There is a mechanic in here where you have this little coffee cup, and as you do certain actions in the game, you're going to be moving up this track, and they do what they call a break, and everybody stops. Has a little chart here you follow down. Really nice. I love this. It's great. It tells you got to go down to this many cards or this many. All these effects go away. You pick up your guys. It takes you step by step through it, and then you reset this and go down. Now, a lot of other games, that's kind of almost a timer where you do this like so many times and the game's over. And that's not the case in this one. Not in multiplayer. You also have another little one you're going up, because you're going to have your cars laid out here of your animals, and you're going to be going up here in your pardon me, I always call it education, but it's a reputation. The reputation, the little graduation cap here. As you go up in your reputation, there are certain actions that are going to allow you to take these cars, but it also unlocks an extra worker, which is very key. 2 spots, I will say, in this thing, probably the biggest spots. Get that extra worker here, and hurry up and get that extra worker there. Once you get those extra workers, it definitely needed, just like in most worker placement type games. Now, this isn't really a worker placement. I say that. It's more, they're called associates, and when you do associate action, they put them on the board, but it gives you more options. So they are definitely one you want to keep out. The game comes with these little trays here, which are nice. They're nice. I do like the fact that on the lids, whoever thought of this, the lids actually set down in there a little bit, so it kind of holds the pieces down. So when you hold it, the ones that have those just even, when you turn on the side, you always get the ones that slip through. Great. Whoever designed that, keep it up. That's a great thing. But it's not big enough for all the pieces that comes with the game. And it's not that you don't. It's literally in the rule book, tells you you're going to have extra pieces left over. Just put them in a bag aside in case you need them. Granted, I like having the extra pieces. But yeah, I figured they could just made this a little taller to hold it, because it's not like you're lacking space in this box. I mean, this is a big box for this game. I'm imagining they got expansions planned for it, and that's why this box is so much larger than it needs. I mean, I'll put the picture over here. This picture will show you there's a lot of room left in this box. This is definitely one that they're hopefully planning for expansion. You have a fantastic card with all the icons, because there is a lot of icons in this game. If you don't like games with a lot of icons, be wary. This one has probably some of the most. Now they are very intuitive. I mean, they are, when you see this size location, you know it's exactly almost a picture of what you're going to grab. When you see a bird, it's a bird. You know, you see Asia, it's Asia. So a lot of them are pretty well there. There are some that takes a little explaining. But another thing, they have a fantastic rule book. This is, what, 30 pages long? Yeah, 20 pages long. So don't let it influence you, because this is another one of those great design rule books which, when you go to look up something, it is probably one of my favorite style of layouts. There's a few other games that done similar. It explains the basic play of the game in the first 4 or 5 pages. Then from that, because you're going to be doing actions on your turn, and what they do is they on the pages go, you do the build action level 1. This is all the rules on the build action. This is build action level 2. These are all the rules on it. The animals action, animal 2. They do that for each of their actions. They got pages dedicated to explaining the rules of that action. So when you get, oh, I want to do the sponsor action, I got a question. Well, you go to the section on the sponsors, and boom, there is exactly the rules on it. Fantastic, well done. Another one is the little card glossary. Has all references to all the cards. Now, I don't say all the cards. It's most of the cards, because a lot of the cards are repeating. Reason why? Well, 212 cards. This gives Wingspan a run for its money. You will play this game 5, 6, 7 times and probably only see 1 or 2 cards repeated in those games. It is crazily insane in the amount of cards they have on here. It's really great. There is a lot of variety. No, there is not repeats in here. Now there are cards that are very similar to each other, but they do not repeat, and that is, man, you designers, I can't imagine. I can imagine maybe doing 30 or 40 of these cards designing, but coming up with ideas for 212. On these cards, you have your animal cards, which has a bunch of different icons on, but it's really simple. It has a nice photo. I mean, these photos are great. It's like Wingspan has, you know, the art, but these have the photos of all the animals, and beautiful. I mean, these are National Geographic quality photos. Whoever did these did a fantastic job. Now the icons, like I said, this is where it does kind of remind me a bit of Terraforming Mars. You have this is what it takes to play the card. This is the type of card it is, because there's ways of making the card cost less. So in order to play the card, you'll have, it needs to go in this size of pin, which I'll show you here in a second. It'll cost you this much money. And sometimes down here it'll have extra requirements, like this one here. You have to have the American Alliance. Then there's also sponsorship cards. Now these sponsorship cards, let's see, we get it. These are what you help going up on the conservation chart. They also have these sponsor cards. Now these sponsor cards are kind of these are the really fun cards. You get these out like down here you get like an instant, but these you got to keep track of, and this is probably one of the headaches that gets why I think also too the game needs to end earlier, because as you get your cards, you're laying them next to your board, which I'm about to get to here in a sec. You'll lay these next to your board, and so you'll have all these cards like this, And every time somebody plays, you got to go down through all your different cards to figure out. Oh wait, you played a reptile. Wait, wait. This one here. Whenever someone plays a reptile, I gain this much, or well, not this card doesn't say that, but there are cards like that. So you gotta really keep an eye on the icon every time you play. It's I'm looking down through my cards. What do I have that activated off of that? Great mechanic. I love it. But late in the game, when you start having 15 of these cards, it really gets to be a pain to micromanage each of them. You start having to look, and it's not uncommon to miss. Also, too, there is this board. Let's do this over here. All right. This is the player board and setup, but first I will look at this real quick. Now, this is the sponsor. I keep calling it the associate board. And when you play the associate card, you'll be playing. You'll have cards on here. I know there's so much to this game. It is great. Don't let it intimidate you. But you have these conservation cards. I'll get it one of these days. That goes at the bottom of here, and it will tell you if you have certain amount of animals in your habitat, you'll get these many points, and you can put the things on, and you'll have your little associate. And when you use the association action, you can take him and you can place him somewhere on this board. You'll go up on reputation, or as I call it, education. Here you get one of these alliances for each of the different countries. You notice there's only one here at a time. I'll explain in a sec. And then you have these schools. I forgot their term for it. And you'll grab one of those. Again, there's one of each type. Or you can, if you qualify, you can put on the conservation a cube from your board, which we'll show here in a minute. Now you'll notice this here in red says you have to have the associate at level 2, and we'll get to that here in a moment. As players get those cards, remember you'll notice that there's also those conservation cards in your in the deck, and the cards that you can draw. Those will go along here. These ones down at the bottom are permanent. They're set at the beginning of the game. You don't do nothing about it. Ones up top, they actually flow. You're actually putting them in, letting them go. I really like this board. It's really nice. It is, see, small. You didn't have to get big. Now, at first, this is a quick one that you're going to be wanting to grab of the different ones, because a lot of animals will require, which you get, again, it's one of those early game, you set up your alliances with certain countries, and late game, if that's not what you need for some of the big animals, you're just going to have to go with a different strategy. Which, like I said, I would like to start and, oh man, next time I want to go reptiles, or this time, I went with birds, and I went with reptiles, so there's a lot of Australia or North America cards that I really could use. But as you come in this spot, you will take one of these tokens from here and put it on your board, as you see a spot here on the board. Now, anytime you go to break, one of the things on break is you refill this. So early game, these you need to get the ones that you really need. Late game, everybody's pretty much got what they need. It's not so much of a fight for here, but so the player board. Now this is where this game has my absolutely favorite mechanic of this game, or part of this game I like to play. is your action cards. You have 5 different action cards. You have the level 1 side, which they start on, which is you see here, and then you have the level 2 side, which are basically more powerful versions of it. On the board, there's certain actions on here and different spots around that you will tell you to flip over one of your cards. You pick one of your cards over and you flip to a more powerful version. Now, why do I really like these cards like this? You have these 5 cards. Build, cards, animals, sponsors, and associates. When you first start the game, animals is always in the first spot. You'll notice there's a number above each one. This is the strength of it. So when you go to do an action on your turn, you get to do an action. So if I want to do a build action for 4, I take the build action, I follow its instructions, which says build one building, the maximum size of X, which is the strength. So I could build a building size of 4 at a cost of 2 per space. And also make kiosks, pavilions. Now, this on your board, there are different boards. There are 2 different starting type boards. And then on the back, you have 8 various different advanced boards that are all unique in that. I love this. This is great. I mean, they're a little thinner. I imagine they did that to keep the price down, but I love this. There's a lot of variety. You play this game multiple times, and each time just play a different one. Even if you all want to play the same one, there's 2 different versions of the 2 basic boards, I guess you'd call the 4 each. Though I love that. It's really great. It's like in this one, you can't build on the rocks, you can't build in the water. And your building has 2 sides, and it'll tell you, right here it's a 4. The first building you put down, it's just like any other polynomial game. You're going to put it down starting somewhere on the outskirts, and okay, let's say I do here. Now from there, all your spaces have to go from. It has to be built from here. Any space you cover, you get the reward. So you get 5 coins, 2 and reputation, and they got it pretty well spread out where you can get it. Now, why does this have like the 4 on it? Well, we'll see here in a minute when we get to the animals. So we did the board. We did this build action. Now, after we do this build action, we're going to take all these cards, we're going to slide them down, and now build is back over here at 1. And now we can do an animal action. So I'm going to do an animal action on my next turn, do an animal action at a power of 2. Now, I do got to say one little gripe. I know I've been griping the whole time. One little gripe on here is, hey, there is not much difference between 2 to 4, you are going to only do 1 animal. I get it, it's kind of a weaker version, but animals I do find a little on the weaker side. Now this one does get really more powerful because, like I said, you got to play one animal from your hand, or if you're lucky enough to get up to 5, you're going to be able to play 2, but why when you get it to 2 do like a build or something else, now this goes up to 2 and build again. It doesn't make sense. But now on the other side is different. The other side you can actually build from the board, or put the animals in the board. Little part, yeah. So when you do these animals, like I said, they have a requirement on it, and of course now I'm not going to pull up an animal. Okay, so now we have this one here, this rhino, and it needs a 4 next to mountain. It's going to cost 24, and it has to have that icon. So I would have had to have gotten one of these on my board so I could get at least one of those. Now there are some with 2 or 3 of those on there. Once I do this rhino, I put if I go to do it, I take my thing, flip it over, and I have rhinos, and now I put it there. I guess it may just been too hard to do, but later on, if you have your board all kinds of stuff, I know that's illegal. Okay, we'll do like that and like this, and over here. Okay. So we got a few different ones over here. I go to do there's a way that you can actually release your animals into the wild for points, it's a great way of getting points. You're definitely encouraged to do it. I mean, this whole game is about conservation of animals and species. So when a certain card comes up, and you're going to be able to get those points, because like I said, that token for conservation moves so much faster over. You're going to want to release let's say in this case, I'm going to release my rhinos. And I go through, use the card. Well, where are the rhinos? Well, the rhinos are wherever I want them to be. All I got to do is flip over a spot that could be, the rhinos could be in. I know, I guess thematically, the animals could be anywhere. So I guess it's a here nor there. It should be, I guess, me being a little nitpicky, but I do kind of find it weird. Now there are other special buildings. You got aviaries where you can put in birds. You have special locations for like bear habitats and all kinds of habitat. There's a whole pile of special habitats that you get from cards. I really love that. It is a really good. It allows you to have the different moves, and you're also going to be putting out kiosks and what do they call? What's that other thing called? I'm sorry, I had to stop and look that one up. I always forget pavilions. So the kiosk and pavilions, whenever you do the break action, they give you extra little action there. They're like one little square spot, so they help fill your map up. And when you take that break action, it also gives you extra appeal and money. I really enjoy this game. It is a fantastic game. The little gripes, I wish that, like I said, the board was thing. These cards could have been those small little cards. You don't necessarily need this graphic up here. I think it would have been fine. You could have easily made it where your sheet stays closer, so the center area give you more room. I know I'm being a little particular in this game, but I absolutely do love this game. There's those few little things that really surprised me when I was setting it up. It was like, oh, why so much room? But when you get down to playing the game, it is great. My favorite version of this game actually is the solo version of this game. Probably because it actually answers one of my two little gripes. It actually has a timer built into it, or a turn timer into it. Anytime you take a break action, you take a cube off of here and it fills up the one board, but you have X amount of breaks. And when those breaks are done, game's over with. I really like this. This really makes the game at a set pace. I personally think I would like to see this as an option in the multiplayer game also, of having it as so many breaks. That way people aren't just doing the breaks just to burn through it to reset. It's setting a timer up for the game where, hey, we got these turns, you better get to it. And it also allows you to, like I said, start over and come up use a different strategy, because there's just so many cards in this game. There's so many different ways to play that as you go, you're gonna see a better strategy or a different idea that you just want the game to end to be able to start over. But like I said, solo wise, this is great. It is a fantastic solo game, and it's what you're doing in this game is you're playing as solo. You're running your 2 score tokens around, and you're seeing how close you can get to it. It would work in a 2-player game too, or multi 3-player, 4-player. I think it would work the same way. Have so many turns. If you could get that close, if you could pass up, then you end sooner. But if not, after 6 or maybe 10 breaks for multiplayer, who was the closest? I had -8 points. Well, that was -12. Well, there you go. It's a really great. It's fantastic. Oh, now I mentioned in-game. I forgot to mention. Yeah, there are in-game reward cards, of course. Everybody's got to have in-game cards. But that's about it. Like I said, I really look forward to future expansions. I hope they really add to this game. It is a great game with potential to be phenomenal. So this has been James Scott, Board of the Bayou. Remember to comment, like, subscribe below. Thank you.